In life, love is not about finding the perfect person. It's about discovering the one who feels like home. Billy Graham's timeless message in "You Will Marry the One Who Feels Like Home" reminds us that true love is guided by faith, peace, and divine purpose. It's not about grand gestures or fleeting emotions, but about spiritual alignment and comfort that only God can ordain. When you meet the person meant for you, your heart will recognize them, not because of appearance or status, but because your souls will rest in each other's presence. This speech reveals how divine timing, inner peace, and God's guidance lead you toward the one who completes your spiritual journey. Love is a divine connection, not a worldly attraction. It transcends the boundaries of what the human mind perceives as beauty, success, or status. True love, the kind that touches the soul and transforms the spirit, does not begin in the eyes. It begins in the heart that is in tune with God's will. The world often teaches us to fall in love based on appearance, charm, or convenience. But divine love operates on a higher frequency. It is guided not by human desire but by spiritual discernment. When you connect with someone on a divine level, you sense an unexplainable peace that the world cannot give. It is the feeling that you've known this soul before, that your connection is written somewhere beyond time, that your meeting is not an accident, but a fulfillment of divine design. In this kind of connection, love is not rushed. It is patient, it is intentional, and it unfolds with grace. The divine connection begins with purpose. God's purpose for two souls who are meant to walk together. When two hearts are aligned with the Creator, they do not chase each other. They attract each other naturally through faith and peace. Worldly attraction fades because it depends on external validation, but divine connection deepens because it is rooted in spiritual truth. The eyes may change, the body may age, but the soul recognizes what is eternal. That is why when love is divine, it does not crumble under trials. It becomes stronger because it is anchored in something greater than emotion. When you look at the world today, many relationships start with sparks that burn brightly for a short while, and then vanish because they are built on desire, not destiny. Desire feeds on momentary pleasure. Destiny feeds on eternal purpose. In a divine connection, both partners inspire each other to grow closer to God. They encourage each other to walk in righteousness, to heal from their past, and to fulfill the callings placed on their lives. There is no jealousy, no competition, no manipulation, only mutual respect and a shared commitment to something sacred. That is how you know the difference between a worldly attraction and a divine union. One drains your spirit, the other revives it. One leaves you empty, the other fills you with peace that surpasses understanding. A divine connection cannot be forced, and it cannot be broken by distance or time. When God ordains two souls to be together, their paths will cross at the right moment, and nothing can hinder that alignment. You may meet others along the way who seem right for a season, but they will never bring the deep calm that comes from the one who is chosen for you. That calm is the signature of God's hand at work. It is the feeling that your heart has found its reflection in another. When you talk to them, your spirit rests. When you look into their eyes, you see faith instead of fear. When you walk beside them, you sense that you are both walking towards something eternal. The world tells you to find someone who excites you, but the divine tells you to find someone who grounds you. Excitement is temporary, grounding is eternal. When you are grounded in love that comes from God, your relationship becomes a sanctuary. It becomes a space where your soul can grow without judgment, where your faith can deepen without fear, and where your heart can rest without anxiety. A divine connection doesn't demand you to change who you are. It calls you to become who you were meant to be. It awakens the version of you that God intended all along. That is why divine love feels different. It feels safe, not because it lacks passion, but because its passion is guided by purpose. There is a quiet knowing in divine love. You don't have to constantly question their intentions, nor do you need to chase their attention. The connection speaks for itself. It speaks through consistency, kindness, understanding, and spiritual alignment. It teaches you that love is not something you fall into blindly, but something you grow into consciously. You begin to see that love is not about possession, but partnership. It's not about what you can get, but what you can give. And in giving, you realize that love multiplies. In the presence of a divine connection, your fears begin to dissolve. The wounds from your past no longer define you, because the energy of love that flows through this bond heals you. It reminds you that you are worthy, that you are seen, that you are understood beyond words. You start to feel that God didn't just bring someone into your life to complete you, but to complement you, to walk with you as you both journey toward divine fulfillment. This kind of love doesn't make you lose yourself, it helps you find yourself in God's plans. When love is divine, it operates in harmony with faith. It's not built on conditions, but on conviction. You love not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. You stay not because you're afraid to be alone, but because your souls are intertwined in a mission greater than your own desires. You start to realize that love is not just a feeling, it's a form of worship. It's an act of faith to love someone the way God intended, to honor, respect, forgive, and nurture them as a reflection of divine grace. In that moment, love becomes more than romance, it becomes ministry. The beauty of divine connection is that it does not compete with your relationship with God, it strengthens it. The person meant for you will never pull you away from your faith, they will draw you closer to it. You will pray together, dream together, and grow together. When you face challenges, you won't turn against each other, you'll turn to God. And in that shared devotion, your love will find its deepest expression. Divine love teaches you that attraction without purpose is just distraction. The world will always offer illusions of love, fleeting excitement, surface level chemistry, emotional dependence, but none of those can sustain the soul. Only divine connection can. When your relationship is founded on God's love, it stands the test of time. It doesn't wither in storms, it thrives through them. Every challenge becomes a chance to grow closer, every trial a testimony of faith. Love that comes from God reminds you that you are not searching for someone to fill your emptiness. You are searching for someone to share your wholeness. You both come together not out of needs, but out of purpose. You both understand that your relationship is not just about happiness, but holiness. It's about serving each other, lifting each other, and walking together in light. That's why divine love feels peaceful. It aligns with the rhythm of God's design. When you finally experience love as a divine connection, you will understand that it has little to do with luck or chance. It has everything to do with surrender. You surrender your expectations, your timelines, your fears, and you allow God to lead your heart. And in that surrender, you find peace. You no longer chase what is temporary, because your spirit has learned to recognize what is eternal. The love that is meant for you will not confuse you, it will clarify you. It will not make you question your worth, it will confirm it. It will not take from your peace, it will multiply it. That is the essence of divine connection. A love that mirrors God's heart and reminds you that the greatest relationships are not found, they are ordained. Peace is the true sign that someone is meant for you. It is not the intensity of emotions or the rush of excitement that confirms divine love. It is the quiet calm that settles in your heart when you are with them. In a world that glorifies chaos, drama, and constant pursuit, peace becomes the most powerful confirmation of alignment. When you meet the person God has chosen for you, you will not feel the need to perform or impress. You will feel seen, understood, and accepted for who you truly are. Peace will wrap around your spirit like a gentle embrace, reminding you that you are where you are supposed to be. This peace cannot be fabricated, and it cannot be mistaken. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the stillness of assurance. It is the voice of the Holy Spirit whispering, "This is safe, this is right, this is home." In the early stages of knowing someone, it is easy to confuse excitement for connection. Your heart races, your mind fills with possibilities, and your emotions rise and fall like waves. But peace does not fluctuate, it is steady. It does not depend on constant validation or dramatic gestures. It simply is. Peace is the divine indicator that your soul has found resonance in another. You can sit in silence with them and feel complete. You can speak your truth without fear of rejection. You can express your vulnerability without shame. That kind of peace is not worldly. It is divine. It flows from the presence of God in both hearts, connecting them beyond understanding. The peace that comes from God surpasses human logic. You might not be able to explain why you trust this person or why your heart feels safe around them, but your spirit knows. You can sense that their presence is not a coincidence. There is something sacred about the way they listen, the way they understand without words, the way they bring calm to your chaos. You begin to realize that peace is not the absence of struggle, it is the presence of alignment. Even when challenges come, the bond remains steady because it is built on spiritual harmony. The world may not understand it, but your heart does. This peace is also what distinguishes divine connection from worldly attraction. Worldly attraction creates restlessness. It makes you anxious, overthink, and doubt yourself. You find yourself questioning whether they care, whether you are enough, whether this relationship will last. Divine connection does the opposite. It quiets your doubts. You feel no urge to chase, no need to control, no fear of loss. Instead, there is a gentle confidence that you are both walking in God's timing. The relationship feels natural, not forced. You don't have to fight for a place in their life, because God already reserved it for you. When you experience that level of peace, you will notice how it changes you. You become more grounded, more patient, more hopeful. You no longer operate from fear, but from faith. Peace gives you clarity. It helps you see beyond appearances and emotions. You begin to discern what is truly right for you rather than what simply feels good for the moment. Many people chase the high of attraction, but overlook the quiet confirmation of peace. Attraction can come from anywhere, but peace only comes from God. That is why it is the most reliable compass for your heart. You can feel peace even in their absence, because the connection is not built on constant communication. It is built on trust. You don't need to hear from them every moment to feel secure. You know they are with you in spirit, and that reassurance settles in your soul. When something is divinely meant, peace becomes your constant companion. It does not leave you when you are apart. It deepens your connection through faith. The love that brings peace will never compete with your purpose. It will complement it. It will not pull you away from God. It will push you closer to Him. The reason peace is such a strong sign from God is because it aligns with His nature. God is not the author of confusion or fear. When He orchestrates something in your life, it carries His signature: peace, harmony, and divine order. When you feel anxious, drained, or uncertain about a relationship, it may be because your spirit senses misalignment. You can force many things in life, but you cannot fake peace. It is either there or it isn't. Peace is how God communicates confirmation to your heart. When He wants you to move forward, He gives you peace. When He wants you to pause or walk away, He removes it. That's why learning to listen to your peace is learning to listen to God. In divine relationships, peace is mutual. It is not one person feeling at ease while the other feels unsettled. Both souls sense the same stillness. It is as if your hearts breathe in rhythm, resting in the comfort of divine timing. You both feel like you can be your authentic selves without fear of judgment. You can share your flaws and still be loved. That shared peace becomes the foundation of the relationship. It allows both individuals to grow without pressure, to heal without fear, and to love without conditions. Peace also manifests in the small moments, the simple conversations, the shared silence, the laughter that feels light instead of forced. It's in the way you pray together, the way you face uncertainty with faith, the way you bring calm to each other's storms. You don't feel the need to prove your worth or earn their affection. You know that you are loved for your soul, not for your performance. That is the beauty of divine peace. It liberates you from the need to strive and allows you to simply be. The world often confuses love with intensity, but intensity without peace leads to exhaustion. Divine love, however, energizes you. It fills you with serenity even in moments of difficulty. You can go through storms together and still feel a sense of safety because peace protects your bond. It acts as a shield against fear and doubt. When arguments arise, peace reminds you to choose understanding over pride. When distance comes, peace reminds you that true love is not threatened by time or space. It's a sacred stillness that holds you both steady while the world around you changes. The greatest relationships are not those that make the loudest noise, but those that carry the deepest peace. They do not need constant drama to feel alive. They thrive in quiet strength. You find comfort in the simplicity of their presence. Even when nothing is being said, your hearts communicate in silence. Peace flows like a soft current between you, reminding you that love doesn't always need words. It just needs truth. And the truth of divine connection is always accompanied by peace. Peace also brings perspective. It helps you see beyond superficial attraction and recognize the spiritual purpose of your connection. You begin to understand that love is not about escaping loneliness, but about fulfilling destiny. Peace opens your eyes to the fact that this person is not just a partner, but a divine companion. Someone designed to walk with you on your journey of faith. That realization shifts your focus from temporary pleasure to eternal purpose. You no longer ask, do they make me happy? But rather, do they bring me peace? Because happiness fluctuates, but peace endures. You may have experienced relationships in the past that were filled with passion but lacked peace. They may have started beautifully but ended painfully because the foundation was emotional, not spiritual. Those experiences teach you the difference between noise and harmony, between attachment and alignment. When you finally encounter peace, it feels foreign at first because you've been conditioned to believe that love must be dramatic to be real. But the absence of chaos is not emptiness, it's healing. That stillness is God's way of saying, this time it's different. Peace allows love to grow organically. It gives space for both individuals to become who they are meant to be. You don't rush the process or force outcomes. You trust that what is meant will unfold in God's time. That trust builds a sense of calm between you. You don't have to beg for attention or chase validation, because peace assures you that you are enough. It anchors you in faith, not fear. And that faith sustains the connection far beyond what attraction alone could ever achieve. When peace becomes the center of your relationship, love transforms into something sacred. Every interaction becomes an act of worship. Every moment an opportunity to honor the divine presence between you. Peace teaches you that love is not just about emotion, it is about alignment. It is when two souls move in rhythm with God's will that peace flows freely between them. It is the sign that you are not walking alone, but with divine guidance. That peace is the most valuable gift love can give. It nurtures your mind, calms your spirit, and strengthens your faith. It turns love into a safe haven instead of a battlefield. It reminds you that real love doesn't demand chaos to feel alive. It thrives in the quiet assurance of God's presence. Peace doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand, it reassures. It doesn't waver. It stays constant even when everything else changes. It is God's voice made visible through love, His gentle confirmation that you are walking in His perfect will. God prepares your heart before revealing your person. Every chapter of your life, every moment of waiting, every heartbreak, and every season of loneliness serves a divine purpose. It is not wasted time, it is sacred preparation. Before God brings the person meant for you into your life, He works within you, molding your heart, refining your spirit, and healing the wounds that would keep you from recognizing true love. He teaches you how to love yourself through His eyes, so that when your divine partner arrives, you love them from a place of wholeness, not emptiness. The process may feel slow, but it is holy. God is not delaying your love story, He is perfecting it. He is shaping you into the person who can sustain the kind of love He intends to give you, the kind that is pure, patient, and aligned with His will. In those seasons of preparation, God often removes distractions. He allows certain relationships to end, certain people to walk away, and certain doors to close. Not because you are being punished, but because your heart is being protected. What is not meant for you must leave so that what is divine can enter. Every tear you shed and every disappointment you experience is part of the cleansing process. God cannot fill a heart that is still clinging to what He never intended for you. That is why the waiting season is not about sitting still, it is about becoming. You are becoming more aware of your worth, more grounded in faith, and more aligned with divine purpose. You start to see love differently, not as something you chase, but as something you attract by becoming who you were meant to be. God's preparation is also a process of alignment. He aligns your values, your purpose, and your faith with His plan. You begin to understand that a divine partner is not just someone who makes you happy, but someone who walks with you toward your destiny. You realize that love is not about finding someone who completes you, but about meeting someone who complements your divine calling. That kind of relationship requires maturity, wisdom, and spiritual grounding, and that is exactly what God cultivates in you before your person appears. He teaches you to listen, to forgive, to trust, and to wait. He refines your understanding of love so that when the right one comes, you don't sabotage it out of fear or impatience. Sometimes the preparation feels like isolation. You may wonder why God has kept you alone for so long while others seem to find love easily. But solitude is where God speaks the loudest. It is in your quiet moments that He whispers truths that shape your heart. He teaches you to depend on Him first so that your identity is not built on another person's presence. He helps you heal the parts of you that were wounded by the wrong people, because if those wounds remain open, you might project them onto the one He sends. Healing before connection is the key to divine union. God will never give you someone to distract you from Him. He will give you someone who reflects Him. But before you can recognize that reflection, you must first know what His love feels like. There is a divine rhythm to God's timing. He doesn't rush the process, because He knows what kind of love you are being prepared to carry. Sometimes He delays the introduction, not because your person isn't ready, but because your heart still needs shaping. He is teaching you lessons that will protect your future union, how to communicate with grace, how to handle conflict with compassion, how to love without losing yourselves. Every experience is a divine rehearsal for the love that will last. God knows that if He gave you your person too early, you might not appreciate or recognize them. So He waits until your heart is strong enough to love from faith rather than fear. In your preparation, you start to notice how God is changing your desires. The things you once found attractive begin to fade, and what truly matters starts to come into focus. You crave peace instead of excitement, depth instead of distraction, commitment instead of convenience. You begin to pray differently. Instead of asking, "When will I find the one?" you start asking, "Lord, make me ready for the one you have for me." That shift in prayer changes everything. It moves you from impatience to purpose, from waiting passively to growing intentionally. You realize that love is not something you stumble into. It's something God leads you into once your spirit is aligned. As your heart matures, you begin to trust God's process more deeply. You no longer feel the need to force connections or chase after temporary affection. You understand that what is meant for you will not require manipulation. Divine love flows effortlessly because it is sustained by grace, not striving. You also begin to discern what is counterfeit. Not every connection that feels strong is meant to stay. Sometimes, God allows counterfeits to appear to test your discernment, to see if you've truly learned to listen to your peace. The more your heart aligns with His voice, the easier it becomes to recognize what is real. You no longer mistake attention for affection or chemistry for compatibility. You know that divine love is recognized through peace, not pressure. God's preparation also involves pruning. He gently removes habits, mindsets, and fears that would hinder your future relationship. He teaches you to let go of control and to surrender your timeline to His wisdom. That surrender builds patience, and patience becomes the soil where divine love can grow. Through this process, your heart becomes softer, more compassionate, and more resilient. You start to understand that love is not a reward for good behavior, but a reflection of divine timing. When both hearts are ready, healed, humble, and aligned, God orchestrates the meeting in a way that feels effortless yet miraculous. While waiting, you may encounter moments of doubt. You might question if God has forgotten you or if love is truly part of your destiny. But every time you return to prayer, peace reminds you that He is working behind the scenes. You may not see the full picture, but God is arranging divine intersections that will happen at the perfect time. You may be growing in one season while your person is being refined in another. God is shaping both of you simultaneously so that when your paths finally cross, you meet as two whole souls, not two broken pieces trying to fix each other. Preparation also means learning how to love with purpose. God teaches you through every relationship, Some to show you what love is, others to show you what it is not. Each encounter leaves behind a lesson that shapes your understanding of divine connection. You learn that love is not possession but partnership, not dependency but divine collaboration. You realize that the right person will not just fit into your life but elevate it. They will not only support your dreams but also align with your mission. And you will be able to offer the same because you've spent time becoming whole in God's presence. There is also a purification that happens during preparation. God cleanses your heart from bitterness, resentment, and disappointment. He shows you how to forgive those who hurt you, not for their sake but for your freedoms. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful forms of preparation because it clears the spiritual clutter that blocks love from entering. When you let go of pain, you make space for peace. When you release your past, you make room for what is divine. The love God has for you cannot coexist with the weight of old wounds. He must empty you of the wrong things before He can fill you with the right one. As you grow, you start to understand that divine timing is not about delay, it's about readiness. God's love story for you is not fragile or rushed. It's carefully designed, and every step has meaning. You may not realize it now, but the person He is preparing for you is also going through their own transformation. They are learning to trust, to heal, and to walk in faith just like you. When God finally brings you together, your hearts will recognize each other not through appearance but through spirit. You will both feel the peace of divine confirmation. The awareness that everything you waited for, everything you prayed for has led to this moment. Before revealing your person, God will often test your contentment in Him. He will ask you to find joy in His presence, not in the promise of another. Because if your happiness depends on someone else's arrival, you are not yet ready for divine love. True love can only flourish in hearts that are already full of God's peace. That's why He teaches you to be whole on your own, to walk in confidence, to pursue your purpose, and to live fully even in waiting. The moment you stop searching desperately and start trusting completely is often the moment divine alignment begins. God's preparation is sometimes painful, but it is always purposeful. You may lose things along the way, friends, relationships, old versions of yourself, but what you gain is divine clarity. You start to see that what is coming is worth every sacrifice, every lonely night, every unanswered question. The person He has chosen for you will not arrive to complete you, but to complement the masterpiece He has been creating within you. They will love you not for who you were, but for who you became through faith. And you will recognize them because your spirit will already know what divine love feels like. Peaceful, steady, and pure. When God prepares your heart, He doesn't just make room for someone else. He makes you ready to love like Him. He teaches you compassion, patience, and forgiveness so that your love story becomes a reflection of His grace. You begin to understand that love is not the goal, it's the reward of obedience. The more you surrender to His process, the more your life aligns with His plan. And when the time is right, love will not arrive as a surprise, it will arrive as confirmation of what your spirit already knew all along. That God was preparing you for something sacred all this time. Real love feels effortless, safe, and spiritually grounding. It is not born out of struggle or confusion, but from a sense of peace that flows naturally between two souls who are aligned with divine purpose. When love is real, it doesn't drain you or demand that you sacrifice your sense of self to keep it alive. It does not come wrapped in uncertainty or fear. Instead, it feels like coming home after a long journey, like resting your heart where it was always meant to be. There is no battle to prove your worth, no constant questioning of intentions, no fear of loss, because the connection is rooted in something eternal rather than emotional. It is a love that stands steady even when life shakes around it. It is not forced or fragile. It simply exists in a state of grace, flowing effortlessly because it was divinely ordained to be. When love is real, it does not require you to chase validation or earn affection. You don't have to change yourself to be loved. You don't have to walk on eggshells to keep someone close. The one who is meant for you will see your soul before they see your flaws. They will recognize your light and understand your shadows without judgment. That is what makes real love safe. It allows you to breathe deeply, to be authentic, and to express your truth without fear of rejection. You find comfort in their presence because your spirit knows it can rest there. You don't feel the need to perform or pretend. You can be silent and yet feel heard. You can be vulnerable and yet feel strong. That is the beauty of divine safety. It nurtures your soul instead of wounding it. Real love doesn't begin with chaos or urgency. It begins with clarity. When two hearts are aligned by God, the connection grows with patience and ease. It unfolds naturally, without manipulation or pressure. There is no confusion about where you stand, no games, no emotional tug of war. You don't find yourself constantly wondering if they care, because their actions speak louder than their words. Their love shows up consistently, quietly, and faithfully. You feel their sincerity not through grand gestures but through everyday presence. That steadiness creates emotional safety, and emotional safety becomes the soil where real love grows. You realize that love is not meant to be a storm that consumes you but a shelter that sustains you. Spiritually grounded love is different because it doesn't just connect you to another person. It connects you to God. You sense the divine hand guiding your relationship, teaching you how to love through patience, forgiveness, and faith. Every conversation feels meaningful because it carries a sense of purpose. You find yourself praying with them, not just for them. You feel encouraged to be better, not pressured to change. You begin to see love not as possession but as partnership, a journey of two souls walking in alignment with divine truths. This kind of love strengthens your faith instead of weakening it. It brings calm to your spirit because you know that God is the foundation. When He is at the center, love becomes unshakable. Real love feels effortless because it is not a transaction, it is a transformation. You are not trying to earn love by giving more than you receive. Both souls pour into each other equally, without keeping score. The energy flows freely because it comes from a place of abundance, not lack. You give out of love, not out of fear of losing someone. You communicate openly because you know that honesty will not drive them away. It will draw them closer. That kind of ease only comes when both people are emotionally mature and spiritually attuned. There is no need for constant reassurance, because your hearts already trust the connection. It is as if your souls speak a language only the two of you understand, a rhythm that feels natural and divinely synchronized. Safety in love is not just about physical comfort, it's about emotional and spiritual assurance. It is knowing that even when disagreements arise, your foundation remains unshaken. You can express frustration without fear of abandonment. You can admit weakness without being seen as less. You can make mistakes and still feel worthy of love. This is because real love is rooted in grace, not perfection. It doesn't expect you to always have it together. It honors your humanity while uplifting your spirit. You both understand that love is not about never falling, but about always helping each other rise again. That kind of safety transforms ordinary connection into sacred partnership. When love is spiritually grounded, it carries an atmosphere of peace wherever it goes. You begin to notice how your heart feels lighter, how your mind grows clearer, and how your life starts to align with purpose. There is no internal battle, no confusion, no contradiction between your emotions and your faith. You don't have to choose between love and peace, because this love gives you both. It doesn't take you away from God, it leads you closer to Him. You both become each other's mirrors, reflecting divine love through patience, gentleness, and compassion. You begin to understand that love is not about two incomplete people trying to fix each other, but about two whole souls joining forces to serve a higher purpose. Real love doesn't fear vulnerability. It embraces it. It allows you to open your heart without hesitation, knowing that you are safe in their care. The person who truly loves you will never use your weaknesses against you. Instead, they will protect your heart as if it were their own. They will remind you of your worth when you forget it, and they will stand beside you through your seasons of doubt. This kind of love is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, steady, and sure. It speaks in small gestures, in gentle words, in consistent presence. It doesn't demand to be seen because it is already deeply felt. You know love is real when it brings peace instead of anxiety. When you no longer wake up wondering if you are enough, because every interaction confirms that you are valued. You begin to trust again, not because the world has changed, but because you've met someone who loves with integrity. Their love feels like sunlight on a cold morning, soft, constant, and healing. You no longer have to fight for space in their heart, because they made room for you long before you arrived. That security allows you to love more freely, without fear of being too much or too little. It gives you the courage to be fully yourself. When love is real, it also allows you to grow individually. You are not consumed by each other. You are inspired by each other. You celebrate one another's independence while cherishing the bond that unites you. There is no control, no possessiveness, no insecurity, just trust. You both understand that love is not about ownership, but about mutual freedom. You give each other space to breathe, to dream, to evolve. And in doing so, your connection deepens. Because real love does not confine, it liberates. It gives you wings while keeping you grounded in faith. Spiritually grounded love also endures through trials. It doesn't crumble when life gets hard, because it was never built on superficial attraction. It was built on faith, patience, and divine alignment. You both understand that love is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Challenges become opportunities to strengthen your bond. Misunderstandings become lessons in humility and forgiveness. Every storm you weather together reaffirms that your connection is not ordinary, it is sacred. It's not based on fleeting emotions but on commitment and trust. You both know that love is not about perfection but perseverance. The effortlessness of real love comes from mutual surrender, to God, to patience, to the process of understanding each other. You stop fighting to be right and start choosing to be kind. You realize that love is not a battlefield but a sanctuary. You start to experience the calm that comes from emotional balance. There is no constant need to fix, prove, or control. You let love flow the way it was designed to, gently and faithfully. That is why divine love feels like a deep exhale after holding your breath for too long. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. It's not about sparks, it's about warmth that never fades. Real love feels spiritually grounding because it brings you back to your essence. It reminds you of who you are in God's eyes. It teaches you to love not out of need but out of abundance. You no longer seek validation from the world because the love you share is already a reflection of divine approval. You feel balanced, centered, and complete. Even when things are uncertain, you are anchored in faith. That is what it means for love to be grounding. It stabilizes your emotions and anchors your spirit in peace. You begin to see how this kind of love changes everything around you. It affects the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you move through life. You become more compassionate, more patient, more understanding. You carry peace wherever you go because love has rooted itself deeply within you. The energy of real love radiates beyond the relationship. It influences your family, your work, your purpose. You realize that love is not just something you feel, it's something you become. In the presence of real love, fear loses its power. You no longer fear being left, being misunderstood, or being alone. Because love built on divine truth reminds you that you are never alone. It teaches you that companionship is not meant to replace your relationship with God, but to enhance it. It brings balance instead of dependence, faith instead of fear, and purpose instead of confusion. You find yourself thanking God not just for giving you someone to love, but for preparing you to love the right way. When you encounter real love, you finally understand why nothing else ever worked. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every false start led you here, to a love that doesn't demand you to lose yourself but helps you find yourself in peace. It's not the kind of love that shouts to the world for validation. It whispers truth to your soul. It's not built on appearances or promises. It's built on presence and purpose. Real love feels effortless because it was never forced. It feels safe because it was never built on fear. It feels grounding because it was always meant to bring you closer to God.